Oh baby, it's mock draft time. Hello guys and welcome back. Today we're going to be doing our 2023 NHL mock draft, predicting the top 16 of the 2023 draft and seeing which prospects will go where in this next NHL draft. We haven't done this in a long time. The last one was back in November, and so much has changed from the prospects to the teams that will be contending for first overall. But which team wins the Connor Bedard race, and where do each prospect go inside the top 16, and who will each team end up selecting? Watch till the end for every single pick and hit that subscribe button for more hockey prospect content just like this. Now let's start out today's mock draft with deciding who will get the first overall pick and deciding who will get the rest of the picks as well inside the top 16. And you can see the odds: Columbus right now with an 18.5% chance at landing Bedard. Then on top of that, you got Chicago, Anaheim, Arizona, San Jose, Montreal, Vancouver, St. Louis, Philadelphia, and Ottawa inside the top 10. But a lot of teams here that you would think about being a contender, like Washington, potentially being in the lottery race here. So it really is quite an interesting situation. But now let's do this thing. Let's get into the first overall pick and decide who will get Connor Bedard in today's mock draft. And let's just freaking do it, shall we? Let's just freaking do it. Without further ado, you know what? I'm going to be predicting Arizona wins it this time around. But 3, 2, 1... and Florida with the Montreal pick rises up to the first position. St. Louis goes all the way up to second overall. And then you have Columbus, Chicago, Anaheim, Arizona, San Jose, Montreal, Vancouver, all going down 2 spots. So the Habs with the Panthers pick will be getting Bedard, but St. Louis as well rising to number 2 makes this incredibly interesting. Now, I've spent a decent chunk of change on services to watch all these prospects, and I can definitely use some savings. And here's something that you can do right now to save money: switch to Mint Mobile, who I'm partnering with for today's video. Now, if you're like me, you already know what Mint Mobile is, mostly because of the amazing Ryan Reynolds ads, but let me quickly tell you how awesome their service is. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 per month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data for that. And thankfully, switching to Mint Mobile is super easy. Thanks to the digital eSIM cards, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. And it's so easy that you can keep your current device and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM card free of charge. So don't waste any time getting these savings that you deserve. Use my link in the description to get premium wireless starting at $15 per month at mintmobile.com/Gravite. So what are you waiting for? Stop paying more than you need to with your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. Thank you so much, Mint Mobile, for partnering with us today, and let's get back into it. And now let's start off with the mock draft and go on to the first overall pick. And now with the Montreal Canadiens having the selection, we will see who they end up selecting. And for the first overall pick in 2023, the Habs will end up getting Connor Bedard. No surprise here, the Habs will select Bedard, and it'll be a franchise-changing selection. And you see this year just how dominant he's been in the WHL in 34 games, getting 42 goals, 43 assists, 85 points, and of course you see the prolific World Juniors that he was able to have for Team Canada, getting the gold medal and being one of the best players of the tournament, if not the best. And with Bedard, he's going to change Montreal so much and will allow them to have so much more flexibility, having Nick Suzuki more as the future second line center, while Bedard is the guy and is the franchise face. And just imagining him alongside Cole Caulfield, that is scary. Next up, we have the second overall pick of the St. Louis Blues, and there's maybe a world where they end up trading this pick, but if they do end up sticking it with it, I think it's either between Leo Carlsson or Adam Fantilli for them. But for this second overall pick, I'm going to lean with Adam Fantilli, and the Blues will select him second overall. One, for their first picks in the draft, of the last 12, 10 are North American, either Canadian or American. So I think there's a slight bias when it comes to the top pick for the Blues each draft. But to me, Adam Fantilli fits the style for St. Louis incredibly well. Great skater, and to me has such a great ceiling with his physical game as well and what he can provide. He's not going to be a player that slouches in every one area, and he's a guy that alongside Robert Thomas as a top 2 center core is going to be really quite solid in that central. And hey, if the Blues are going to trade Ryan O'Reilly at this trade deadline, getting Adam Fantilli as a replacement, not too bad. But next up, let's move on to the Columbus Blue Jackets with the 3rd overall pick. And this is a pick that many would assume would maybe be Leo Carlsson. But to me, if the Columbus Blue Jackets aren't getting number 1, to me, there's an extremely high chance that their pick will end up being Matvei Michkov. Now, Michkov could end up dropping in this draft a little bit, but to me, Columbus is the one team especially that would really go after him. For one, in the last 3 drafts, Columbus has selected 4 different Russians, so they're not afraid of drafting Russian players. And of course, there was a Michkov pick back in 2020 where they drafted him with the 21st overall selection. So to me, with Michkov, he's a player that the Columbus Blue Jackets would definitely like to have. And as well as the player profile, Columbus isn't in a situation where they need Michkov right now, and they can afford to wait until his KHL deal is up. But that goal scoring pedigree and the way he's able to get into those high danger areas is something that I think Columbus is definitely looking out for. And alongside some of their playmakers like Kent Johnson, Michkov would be absolutely brilliant this year in 15 KHL games, having 5 goals, 3 assists for 8 points with Sochi and looking pretty solid there. Next up at 4th overall, here is where the Chicago Blackhawks end up, and going out of the 4th overall pick, they're going to select Leo Carlsson. I mean, it would be a God-given opportunity for them to select Carlsson, and I don't think they'll end up letting that go. As a Stars fan, the fact that the Blues will get Fantilli and the Blackhawks will get Carlsson really makes me unhappy, but you know what? It's just how it goes with this lottery and this current predictions. But with Leo Carlsson, I think he would fit the Blackhawks incredibly well as a first-line center in the future with great physical and overall traits. This year in the SHL in 32 games has 5 goals, 13 assists, 18 points, looked pretty solid in the World Juniors in his role too, and was a really great play driver as well. And to me, with Leo Carlsson, there's nothing that's absolutely top tier, but everything comes together in a fantastic package, and to me, as a top prospect for Chicago, he's going to be brilliant for them. Now going on to the 5th overall selection, and to me with mock drafts, I hate when it's kind of safe and very predictable. To me, every single draft has some huge big surprises, and with the 5th overall pick, I think the Anaheim Ducks will make a big one as well. For the 5th selection, I think they will end up selecting Colby Barlow out of the Owen Sound attack. Now, when it comes to their last couple of drafts, out of the 16 last picks that they've had over these past 2 NHL drafts, 2 of them have not been American or Canadian. They've had a huge Canadian bias over the last couple of seasons with their picks, and the big exception was Pavel Mintyukov, 10th overall in the last draft. But to me, Colby Barlow could fit a lot of different check marks for the Ducks. I think they would look for some more goal scoring. I think they'd look for some more impact in the overall game as well, which for Barlow, especially in the penalty kill, I could absolutely see him bringing that for Anaheim. Even though I wouldn't select him near at the 5th selection, I could kind of see where they're coming from, and it would kind of be like the Cutter Gauthier pick of last year for Philadelphia. And you see this year in the OHL, he's been brilliant in 42 games, getting 36 goals, 27 assists, and 63 points. And as a physical 2-way middle 6 penalty killer guy that can score as well, to me, Barlow could provide a lot of different value, and I think Anaheim will be looking for that. Now with the 6th overall selection, now we go on to the Arizona Coyotes, and they're kind of a weird team to predict because some draft picks I think are excellent, like selecting Logan Cooley 3rd overall, and then others kind of make me wonder what their philosophy is. But with 6th overall, I think the Arizona Coyotes will end up selecting David Reinbacher out of the National League. And to me, this would be another surprise, kind of like Colby Barlow, but with Colby Barlow kind of being like Cutter Gauthier's pick, I think this David Reinbacher pick, at least in Arizona's eyes, will kind of be like Moritz Seider, where you have this really great mobile, interesting defenseman, especially defensively, that might go a little bit high in their draft year, but for Arizona, they're hoping that it pans out in a big way. I'm not sure if it's the same thing. To me, I think I liked a lot more about Seider than Reinbacher in their draft years, but at the same time, I could still see where the Coyotes are coming from with this pick. At 6'2", and you see it in the National League playing against a really strong pro level. In 37 games as a D-man, has 2 goals, 17 assists, 19 points, and to me, that defensive game also has a ton of potential if he's able to get even more bulk on him and even more muscle. To me, that's really the biggest thing that might hold him back a little bit, but if he's able to get stronger, I think Arizona would absolutely love him. Next up, we got the San Jose Sharks at 7th overall, and this is a really interesting position for them to be in because there's a couple of guys I think they could go after specifically, but I think at this selection with this player available, I don't think they're going to be able to pass him up, and that is Zach Benson of the Winnipeg Ice. Now, typically, at least recently, the Sharks have drafted more in terms of height and bigger players, but I think they're going to look past the height and look more towards the player, with Zach Benson, to me, is one of the best overall players of this draft. And that two-way game is absolutely sparkling. This year in the WHL, though, in 41 games, has 25 goals, 41 assists, 66 points. The offensive potential is there, the quickness in his game, the deception, but again, that defensive game, that effort, a 200-foot game is all there, and I think San Jose is really going to appreciate that. Next up, let's go on to the 8th overall pick, and this would be the actual Montreal Canadiens selection with their own pick instead of the Florida one, and which would still be pretty great for the Habs, but getting 1st and 8th overall is an incredible position for Montreal, and I think they will make the most of it. Going to the 8th overall selection, I have them selecting Will Smith, who to me would fit the Habs game extraordinarily well. Is one of the most creative and forward-thinking forwards of this draft. I mean, no pun intended, but you know what I mean. He's so deceptive and so quick in his own zone, and to me, even though there might not be the greatest skating in the world, there is a lot of edge work that goes into his offensive game that I think does push him forward, but he's a player that just loves to make great plays, loves to make exciting dekes, and this year in 36 USDP games has 69 points, has been absolutely prolific, but he's a player that, although it might not be this first line guy, I could still see becoming a top 6 guy that is on the power play and can get things done. And even if you don't want to have him as a centerman, I think he could still transition his game to the wing and still do pretty well. Now, let's go on to 9th overall, and this would be the Vancouver Canucks pick, and to me, there's one player, if he's available at least, that they will definitely be putting their sights on, and that is Axel Sandin Pellikka, and to me, this would make a lot of sense, and to me, also kind of still brings a lot of that Quinn Hughes dynamic, where he's really exciting, uses his skating in so many great ways, but loves to push the rush and loves to get activated in the defensive zone and bring out pucks. To me, he could be kind of their second pair Quinn Hughes and bring a lot of puck moving ability to that defense too. Even if he might not be the shutdown guy they really need, that could be solved later, maybe in their next pick. But at 17 years old, he's been doing some pretty great things in the SHL this year, has 5 points in 20 games, looked pretty solid in the World Juniors, even if he only got 1 assist, was playing top pair minutes for Sweden by the end of the thing. And to me, I think, especially in Vancouver's system, although, yeah, picking the highest Swede would be Vancouver's style, I think Sandin Pellikka does fit their style still pretty well. Now let's move on to the 10th overall selection, and next up, it is the Philadelphia Flyers, and to me, it would be a very Flyers pick, but I actually wouldn't mind it too much. At 10th overall, I have them selecting Ryan Leonard. Now, I like Ryan Leonard quite a bit. 10th might be a little bit high for me right now, but I could definitely see where they're coming from with that certain selection. This year in the USDP in 34 games, has 25 goals, 27 assists, 52 points, and to me, especially going to Boston College, he's going to be a brilliant player for Philadelphia in a lot of key areas. He's not going to be an elite player by any means, but as a middle 6 center who gets the job done, can score when you need to, that you can put on the power play and penalty kill, and that you can get some great speed out of. To me, Leonard brings a lot of those solid things that you just want to see out of a compact center at the next level, and I think Philadelphia will definitely be in on him. Next up, we got the Ottawa Senators at the 11th overall position, and to me, there's a couple of guys, I think it's between either Braden Jaeger or Matthew Wood for me, but I think the versatility in position might just put the Sens over the top to select Matthew Wood. With Yager, he's more of a natural centerman, and I don't think the Sens really quite need that, but Wood could play all 3 forward positions, and I think for the Sens, having that is important. But at 6'3", 190 pounds, Matthew Wood's been playing for the University of Connecticut this year, and in 27 games has 9 goals, 16 assists, 25 points. I think for the Sens, the big thing that'll really push them forward with Wood is that versatility, again, with that goal scoring, as well as the pretty constant physical pressure that Wood can provide. To me, he's not the greatest skater, but I think the Sens would look past that at 11th overall. Now let's advance on to number 12, and with this selection with the Detroit Red Wings, I always try to think, what is the Steve Yzerman pick? And I think I've got it. Let's go to 12th overall, and I have Oliver Moore going to Detroit. 5'11", 176-pound centerman, has done some really under-the-radar things, I think, for the Americans this year in the USDP, getting 21 goals, 26 assists for 47 points in 37 games, and to me, especially going to the University of Minnesota, that's going to be a ton of fun to watch. But with Moore, I just love what he's able to bring to the game. The intensity, the speed, the work ethic, as well as just that great play driving. To me, there's a lot of great quickness in his game, and although he might not be the most physical player in the world, to me, he's a guy that is a middle line centerman, especially with Casper coming up, and if they're able to stick with Dylan Larkin and keep him on the roster, to me, that's a pretty solid center core for the future and would definitely get the job done. And especially in a power play, I think Moore would be pretty phenomenal. Now with the 13th overall pick, now let's go on to the Vancouver Canucks and the pick they got in the Bo Horvat trade. Of course, this trade is, that pick is top 12 protected, but since it is 13th overall right now, they would end up getting the pick this year. And if that does happen, I think they'll end up going for Braden Jaeger, who, with of course them selecting Sandin Pellikka back at the last pick and getting a defenseman, I think they'll go for a centerman here in Yager. At 6 foot, 165 pounds, Yager this year has had, I would say, a disappointing season, but still has a lot to go for with Moose Jaw. In 48 games, has 20 goals, 35 assists, 55 points. I think as a power play, a decent centerman overall guy, I think there's a lot to like with Yager. I see him more as a pretty solid third line guy, but as a goal scorer that can have a lot of finishing, I think there's still a great player to map around there. Now on to the 14th overall pick, though. Next up is the Nashville Predators, and I think they'll end up selecting Dalibor Dvorsky. 6'1", 201 pounds. I think they will go for a centerman here. And you look at what he's done in the Allsvenskan this year in 27 games. He's gotten 4 goals, 7 assists, 11 points, and looked solid for Slovakia at the World Juniors, although nothing absolutely brilliant. But to me, when it comes to Dvorsky, although there's not an especially high ceiling there, I could see him becoming just a solid, consistent middle six guy who can bring some great talent, some great passing ability, and also that shot I think can be really underrated too. He's not going to be this elite player, but at 14th overall, I think there's way worse options you could go for. Now up to 15th overall and the Washington Capitals. It would be hard to imagine them missing the playoffs, but if they do and get 15th overall, I think the player they will end up selecting is Nate Danielson. And at 15th overall, I think it would be a pretty solid and consistent pick for the Caps. And I think getting a centerman would definitely be wise for them, even though they've been drafting a lot of D-man lately, especially in the first couple rounds. I think Danielson would fit the bill for them. 6'1", 185 pounds for Brandon Wheat Kings, and this year in the WHL in 45 games, has 23 goals, 33 assists, 56 points. And to me, with Danielson, he's going to be just an absolutely fantastic third-line centerman, a guy that has just a ton of intangibles, already is the captain for Brandon and has done some great things there, and to me will just lead in a lot of ways. Leads by example with his work ethic, with his speed, and the way he's able to create in the offensive zone. He's not the flashiest player, but he always seems to get the job done and always seems to make smart decisions. And I think for Washington, they'll not just appreciate that, but will really be excited to have him on their roster. Now let's get into the last pick of today's mock draft and go on to the Calgary Flames. And as long as Daryl Sutter is there, to me, they're going to go after bigger, more physical players. And I think they will end up selecting Slovak Samuel Honzek, who at age 18, 6'4", 185 pounds, has been playing for the Vancouver Giants this year and has been scoring at a pretty good rate. In 31 games, has 17 goals, 26 assists, 43 points, and to me, with Honzek's stock rising quite a bit, there's a lot of reasons why. His physical traits are fantastic, the way he's able to keep pressure, and the way he's able to stay on his skates is brilliant, and he's a player that as a third-line center guy can chip in here and there. I just don't know if he has the greatest offensive potential, but at the same time, his game is simple, and with the physicality there, I think Calgary will definitely enjoy that. That is my top 16 mock draft for the 2023 NHL draft. Of course, later on, as we get closer to the draft, we'll be doing more and more picks, more towards the first round completely and getting all 32 teams involved. But that is it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Of course, comment down below. What do you guys agree and disagree with my picks? And what do you guys see happening inside the top 16? Who do you see your team taking, as well as who do you see the top 16 prospects being in the 2023 draft? Let us know all your thoughts down below. Of course, share the video with all the hockey and prospect fans you guys know online, and I'll see you in the next video or stream. Also, click on this card for my 2023 draft content right on playlist. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.